Hey, this is Alex from the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. To see more videos like this from the Good Old Boys, hit subscribe and support this independent podcast.
The way that we were drafting on this, it was a 14-round draft on this. Single QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 kicker, 1 defense, special team. So a pretty standardized league for a starting roster, and then a few bench spots on top of that one there as well. So pretty standardized draft, right? We tried to make it as close as we could to what most folks are going to see and going to encounter in their in the draft room that night. And we based all of this stuff off of a half-point PPR scoring, right? And part of the reason we do half-point PPR scoring is, 1, we base all of our rankings off of a half-point PPR. And 2, it kind of lands right in the middle in between the standard scoring and full-point PPR scoring. And you can kind of adjust back and forth and really, see how some of that would shift and look and work based on your league there. But this will give you kind of the middle ground, and you can adjust as you need if you're a full PPR or a standard scoring league there.
Much like the 9th was your favorite, this one was my favorite. I absolutely loved this draft. A, because it was a little bit different, and B, because I did it my traditional way, right? We've been talking about grab your wide receiver. And in this draft, it started out Saquon at 110, Nick Chubb at 203. I could not turn Nick Chubb down at this point. Like, there were options on the table. Yes, I could have done some different things and gone with Garrett Wilson. I think St. Brown was off the table. But Chubb's staring me in the face. And I said, yes, please, I have to. So I'm starting out with Barkley and Chubb as my anchors for my running back position, knowing that because I did that, I can either take a couple flyers later on, or I can just punt the position now for the next few rounds. And that's exactly what I did. I followed it up with Calvin Ridley, Drake London, as my top 2, Devonta Smith and Calvin Ridley as my top 2 wide receivers, Drake London in the 5th as my 3rd wide receiver, Trevor Lawrence in the 6th to kind of get that nice little stack with Calvin Ridley. And then in the 7th, I finally went back to running back, grabbed A.J. Dillon because I do think that the Packers are going to run the ball a fair amount. He will see his fair share of opportunities down there. Antonio Gibson, I think where he's going to see a lot of passing work, right? In a standard league, may not pull this trigger on Gibson. I probably look at Brian Robinson a bit more, but with it being a half point and even more in a full point, Gibson works really well for me there. And then Elijah Moore, Daniel Jones, again, because I felt like I had my Elijah Moore than Dalton Schultz as my tight end. And I felt like I was set enough at those positions. I didn't want to double tap tight end. So I decided to pivot and go Daniel Jones, a little bit of keep away for some folks in the league possibly. And then Niners defense, Tyler Bass in the 12th and 13th because of where I was drafting. And then in the 14th round, again, picked up Zamir White because of the Josh Jacobs situation.